Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Altered Carbon, Season 1, Episode 1. It is called Out of the Past. This is, of course, Netflix's new original series. All 10 episodes of Season 1 went up today. So we'll start spoiler-free, because it is a first episode. We like to do that with pilots and premieres, so we can give you a sense of the quality, if it's worth watching, and then we'll give you a spoiler warning somewhere in the middle before we delve into the heavy plot stuff. So, obviously, we were looking forward to this because it looked very pretty from the trailers. Very,
Yep.
cyberpunk, sci-fi, flying cars, buildings that go above clouds, all the rest of it. All that pretty
Lots
stuff.
of bright lights.
Yeah, a lot of neon and holograms, all that fun stuff. So we were looking forward to it. So basically, this is a show set in the future, way in the future, and it's heavily implied that we're also on multiple planets, but the show is set on Earth, and we have this technology, this system where your brain or your consciousness, your memories, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it your soul, call it your soul. But it's put on like a little reader. What do they call it? A stack. They call it
Stack,
stacks.
yes.
Yeah. And when you die, it can be taken and put into a new sleeve, what they call it, which is basically just a new human body. And they can do that. You can permanently kill someone by destroying the stack, or if you shooting them in the head with an energy-based weapon. So you know it's sci-fi because we're talking about energy-based weapons. That will permanently kill them, but otherwise they can be brought back in a new body.
Or blunt force trauma at the base of the brain.
Or basically, well, that's just destroying the stack. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
I think the implication is that the energy weapon does destroy the stack because it's energy in the head.
Oh, sure. I just meant when I said
Yeah.
destroy the stack, I was kind of including just hitting
Yeah.
that area with that. But so our main character, Takeshi Kovacs, he is someone who was alive in the show's timeline. I don't know if they ever mentioned the year exactly, but 250 years ago, he was this hotshot, what they're calling terrorist. Although I've got a feeling that we're going to find out more about what his cause was, and maybe not see him quite as that. But he was this badass who was taken down. He's been in prison, and by in prison I mean what they call on ice, which is his stack exists, but he's just kind of turned off. He's just kind of
They just didn't put him into a new body.
yeah. It's unclear at this point if that means he's like aware during that time, like if he's constantly in limbo, where he's just kind of like dreaming the whole time, because they kind of imply at the start that he's kind of thinking of this, like how he died and stuff.
There's things that lean either way.
Yeah.
Like there's some sort, one character refers to it as the dark, so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe they don't have awareness.
Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like a punishment if you're just switched off, because you're not
but,
experiencing any of it.
But ultimately, again, this isn't really from a spoiler because it's from the trailers. He doesn't know how long he's been out. Like, he has to ask, so he's clearly not aware of the time passing.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not experiencing it, though. It just means he can't keep track of time. If you were in a dream state for 100, 250 years, then
Yeah.
would you be keeping a calendar? At least if he was in a cell, he could do tally marks in the wall properly, not like Barry Allen, but proper tally marks.
Yes. Yes.
But anyway, so the plot of the show is that this guy, Takeshi, he is woken up. He shouldn't be woken up, his sentence is not done, but this rich guy, Bancroft, has woken him up because he wants to use his skills. He's put him into a body that's got muscle reflexes that are suitable for his skills, which is handy, and he wants him to investigate his own murder, because he himself was attempted to be killed, but he was able to go into a new body. More on that when we get into plot details, and it's all about him being in this new world, which is now centuries later than when he was alive. Things have changed, and who was he? What was he fighting for? What was the cause? What was he going to do now? Because if he doesn't play by the rules, if he doesn't do what this guy says, he just goes back into the ice, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of the show, and it doesn't get much full on that in this first episode. I will say that the episode does focus entirely on setting up the world and setting up his decision to what he's going to do. It kind of just sits on that.
In that sense, there's not too much to spoil in this episode because it is the premise of the show. It's often the case with first episodes.
Yeah, not too much. There's some stuff, of course, but yeah, for the most part, it's pretty much setting up what the plot is. So I'll ask the question: did you enjoy the first episode of Altered Carbon?
I did. A bit too heavy on the exposition in the first half of the episode. There's a lot of it. It breaks it up with some nice little action sequences, don't get me wrong. And I understand that there needs to be a lot of exposition because you're throwing a lot of words and new things at me.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is, okay, we're just going to speak about this stuff and tell you these things now, which is inherently less enjoyable, but it should get it out of the way.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit actually. There's some moments early on. There's action scenes. Basically, the opening of the episode kind of crosses between him waking up in his new body, and it cuts back to when his original body died, essentially.
Yeah.
And obviously, at this point, we don't even know how long it's been until it's mentioned and so on. During this, like I was liking kind of the style. I was getting the tone of it. But there was a point where the mercenaries who are there to get him in the flashback, and they come in with these ultra sci-fi helmets, and they're blasting all these
Voice
weird
masks,
energy weapons.
yeah.
Kovac has this ability, not clear if it's tech or if it's like some sort of natural thing he's got.
I wasn't sure. They're very Daredevil-esque.
Well, because he kept talking about how it was like he sees the details, and it's just kind of just a turned up version of that, and I was wondering if it's almost tech assisted Sherlock Holmes power, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
I was getting that kind of vibe.
It's unclear.
Yeah, it's unclear at this point exactly. Like I say, there's a lot of like new ideas and concepts in tech to sort of get our heads around, and what I will say is that even if you don't get your head around a lot of those things, because I feel there's a lot of stuff that will become clearer and we'll get used to the names, we'll get used to the things they're using as it goes on.
Yeah.
But I will say this first episode, I think, even if you don't completely so-called that information in, the core character plot and what the backbone of the episode is still completely easy to follow.
It is, and I think the essential terms, we said stacks and sleeves, you get those pretty quickly.
You get those pretty quickly. You get he was an envoy pretty quickly, and that's some sort of super
we learn
soldier.
more about that as the episode goes on. Yeah.
And you get these things. It is very exposition in the first half. I agree with that. It didn't bother me too much though. Partly because I felt like okay, there's so much we have to learn, and I still feel like I've not got a solid footing.
That's it. It's one of those where I can't necessarily suggest a better way to do it because there is so much information that's just you need to know. That it has to just tell you somehow. But at the same time, I kind of go, okay, I'm spending 15 minutes, give or take, at the start, just listening to this. Which is fine. It's not bad.
Well, no, there is an option. The option is just to not actually give us all of it in the first episode. The option is to just have the plot do what it's doing, but not feel the need to explain everything, and just trust that we'll get that in episode 2 or 3. We'll get bits by bit as we go on.
Yeah.
I think the decision not to do it, which is arguably the wrong choice, is because they're worried that some people will feel that they're not following it properly in the first episode, and they'll just exit at that point, and they'll feel like they're not getting the answers. Sure, I wouldn't mind the longer approach where they don't tell us necessarily what all these different things are at first. Like, let me be a little bit lost, but just get the one core thing that I need to know for this episode, and then build on it, so on. So that would be my one kind of complaint. That honestly though, the rest of it I actually was really into.
Yeah, me too.
I think a lot of what they're doing, like I never really, even though I knew it was like an old person, like downloaded into a new body, like from the trailers and stuff. I don't think I ever really quite got that there's going to be this interesting past in what his life was back then. That was going to, I almost, I wrote that off as just kind of. Again,
that's backstory.
It's just some backstories. That's not important. Whereas the glimpses we're getting in this, and the idea that he's the lone survivor of this big battle that happened at one point, and he had this cause. Like I'm like, okay, right. There's a lot more to this than I was thinking.
Honestly, even just the way they're downloaded is different to what I was expecting from the trailer. From the trailer, I was expecting it to be because obviously the trailer very clear is like, oh no, you want you to solve a murder. Who's mine?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so he doesn't remember because otherwise he'd just know. So I was expecting that, okay, they're stored in a server somewhere. Maybe they go in every so often and, update, who they are.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they go back to that point. But then it's very clear immediately, oh, no. They just live through it and then they just take it and put it in the next body. They still remember the death.
Yeah, there's one character who doesn't, but there's a plot reason for that we'll get to in the spoilers.
Yeah.
But no, they remember their death. In fact, when he wakes up, he starts acting kind of violent because the first thing he remembers as he wakes up is someone's trying to kill him. So
and I think I should call them the doctors who are doing this. I don't know if that's quite the right term.
The lab techs who sort of bring them out and set them up.
They're like there's someone's clearly like their first day or something, and he's like he's thrashing about, and she's like, is this normal? It's like yeah, if they die violently, this kind of happens. It's fine.
Yeah, so it gives you the sense that the world's lived in. You get the sense of some of the different things that happen. It gives you a few extra little things that might happen because of this tech in this system, and that happens with a few things and a few other bits. There's a little bit of tech where they have in their eye. They can look up things in their eye, and it has like extra. They can. It's basically just a little computer they can look at in their eye, and. Like that setup, I liked how that was first shown because it's first showing someone just using it without explaining it.
Just see a little light in their eye.
Yeah, and I immediately got it. Now maybe this is just because Black Mirror's prepared me for this technology, but I just got it. Immediately.
It's something I feel like I've seen in a few animes as well, like that sort of thing.
But I just got it immediately, and they explore it a little bit more later on. But I was like, I liked it the first time we see it. It's just no, it's just used. Boom,
it's just there. Yeah.
And we get like these weird mix of cultures. At one point, the one of our main characters is a police detective named Ortega, and her and her like partner, like she's Hispanic, of course, and he is Arabic, or he speaks in Arabic at least. And at one point, he speaks in Arabic to her, and then she responds in Spanish, but they both understand what each other are saying. Now, admittedly, this might just be a little eye thing, like translating for them, so they just know what they're saying.
See, I don't think so, because other police in the department look around, like she raises a voice and they look around, but it didn't look like they were following the conversation.
Maybe, but you think they just both speak both languages?
Possibly.
Because they swap languages like that, and it reminded me a little bit of a fantastic television show called Firefly, where everyone just happened to know Mandarin as well as English, so they did occasionally pop in. But this was at one step further, where they were popping in two languages at the same time, as if it was nothing. So this is the thing. So you got that. You got the world sort of buildings, kind of there. I actually thought because it was like a 58-minute episode, but I thought the pacing was actually quite good for this first episode. It didn't feel rushed. It did not feel too slow. It felt just kind of right for me.
I agree. I think the exposition could have been spread out a little bit more. I think it's very front loaded, and I think some of it could have been paced out, because I felt the first 15 minutes, other than the action sequences, I felt like it was slowing down to tell me the information a bit too much. I felt like once or twice too many times.
I actually didn't have that problem. I think because they did the smart thing where they were intercutting it with this with the death flashback, if you will, and I liked that it did that as well, because I think just from it was just an interesting perspective that he's remembering his own death. That was it's just a unique thing. Like, you don't usually get that. And because every time, especially I'll save some of this for spoilers, but there's certainly a point where we'll say his parole officer, if you want to call him that, is talking to him about why he's there and why he's been woken up and stuff, and we see something in the flashback, and then immediately we see him contradict some information from the flashback. And
it's a question of, okay, is this just what the official story ended up being? And this is, like the parole officer, to just use that term, isn't necessarily lying, but just believes that that's what happened.
Oh, I think that's exactly it. I don't know. Yeah. What was the other possibility?
Well, no, I feel like maybe it's like, they're aware that, okay, this probably didn't happen like this, but there's an official story.
Well, I don't think he would know either way, because it's been 250 years.
That's true. Yeah.
I think, it's just the official story based on who was there at the scene, who reported it.
Yeah.
So the world obviously is beautiful. The visual effects, whenever they're flying car, or they go up above the clouds at one point, and the money went into this, and it never feels, well, because obviously there's times where it's just, okay, now we're just in a room. It never feels like it's doing that too much to try and hide to save money, to not use more effect shots. It always feels natural and like.
It does. You're inside a lot, but that's because, let's be honest, a lot of conversations take place inside. That's life.
Well, they do, but there's also stuff with him out in the rain with all the neon lights, the Blade Runner visuals, and
up outside above the clouds in big mansions.
Mm-hmm. It takes the 1% idea very literal, where you have just a few buildings that go above the clouds, and that's where the ultra rich people live, because they don't want to have to look down upon everyone else, and they're always in the sunshine because it's above the clouds. So, except nighttime, obviously.
Well, yeah, got to sleep.
That's how rotation of the Earth works. Yeah, I think human beings still sleep. Yes.
I mean, human beings as a rule, probably, but to the rich people in this world, maybe they found a way out of it.
They can keep coming back from death. I don't think they can avoid sleeping. I think the bodies still have to sleep.
Well, then, the world has not progressed far enough. What else then? Before spoil, I like the music a lot.
Music's again. It's got a little bit of the. It feels like something that would be playing while I'm playing a sci-fi game. Like, the backing track while I'm doing something.
It does. It's very atmospheric at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, there's not a lot of big themes that I'm kind of like recognizing yet, but I'm getting a lot of textual kind of
Yeah.
just like
Atmosphere, tone.
little bit of synth, little bit of the strings mixed in with the synth, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I like the opening titles as well.
They're okay. They're fine, but I'm in this place now where all these like big budget shows have the same opening title sequence. They look kind of different, but they're basically the same idea.
In terms of the visuals, sure, but I like the music of them.
Oh yeah, the music was good, but it takes a lot for one of them to impress me now, because I feel like once one like HBO show started doing this type of opening title sequence, every single prestigious show started to ape the exact same thing.
They did. Yeah.
So no. So I appreciate it when it's a little bit different or a bit unique. I'll be honest. Not that I think it'd be appropriate for this show, but I do miss the classic. Here's the actors' heads as
Yeah, you missed the 80s and 90s faces.
yeah, with the names coming up. Yeah. No, but I feel like the superhero shows could all be using that. They'd all suit
Yeah,
it.
but they just slashed opening credits altogether. A lot of them.
Yeah.
They just went for a noise.
Now, admittedly, I know why that is. It's because since the 90s, 3 minutes of airtime's been cut for more ads, and that's why they don't want to waste a minute on an opening title sequence. I get it. I know why they're doing it. I'm just saying I miss it, alright? I miss it. Yeah, obviously, you got to cast, what's the main man's name? Joel Kinnaman. He's pretty good. Much better than he was in RoboCop.
I never saw RoboCop, but I'm willing to agree.
He wasn't necessarily bad in RoboCop. I'm just throwing that dig in there. He was also in The Killing, which is the first thing I think I saw him in, which was also not great. He's an actor that I've always kind of liked, but he tends to be in a lot of bad things.
Like Suicide Squad.
That's right, he was in Suicide Squad. I forgot about Suicide Squad.
He's much better in this.
He's in Suicide Squad. We have 2 different actors from Dollhouse in roles. I can't really talk about what the roles are because they're spoilery. But Deachin Lackman is in this. And we also have, and do you know what? You're thinking, oh, that was a hard name, but the next one will be fine. Now, the next one, I've always struggled with the next one. Tamo Pennicott, or thereabouts. He was in Battlestar Galactica, but he was also in Dollhouse too. So
Was
both
he in Dollhouse?
Dollhouse. It's been a while since I watched it.
Just I don't recognise the name.
I want to say Paul.
Okay, that doesn't help. I thought you were going to give me something to describe them that would help, but never mind.
The one who's trying to, like, at least at the start of the show, he's trying to, like, find out about the dollhouse because he wants to...
Okay, I know who you are right now.
Right. I think you didn't recognise him in the episode then, since you...
I mean, no, it's been a while since I've seen Dollhouse.
Anyway, so no. So I suppose we'll... well, before we get to spoiled, I'll say I like to wait a bit. I'm looking forward to watching more of it now. I'm intrigued. I think they actually do enough with the case, the murder case that he's taken on, that I'm actually kind of intrigued by why, who, and how. Like I'm intrigued by what the purpose of it was.
Okay, no, I get what you're saying. I think I'm not intrigued by that yet. I'm in this episode. It did enough with it was intriguing me as to why this concerns our main character, right? It's like, okay, why is he involved? That stuff that it does in this episode, which we'll talk about in a minute, I like that a lot. But the actual mystery of the murder itself, it's fine. But it's got time to make me care.
No, I think just on a conceptual level, in a world where murder doesn't really matter that much anymore, even though they set up that there is a way to permanently kill someone, I think it's just interesting enough that I'm like curious. Admittedly, I don't really care about the character himself yet, but he is intriguing because he's so old and he collects things from from all the eras because he appreciates history. I suppose you would if you're 350 years old. We complain that the kids today don't like what we like. Just imagine if you're 350 plus years old.
Yeah, all that newfangled technology.
Yeah. Oh, to be fair, the tech doesn't seem to have advanced too much from the flashback till present day in the show.
Well, no, obviously they still had stacks and they still had the energy weapons.
Yeah. And
we don't see too much more in the flashback, I don't think.
Nah, but the SWAT guys' helmets look pretty high tech. It's this thing though, when you set something far in the future, it's hard to like distinguish
future to super future.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish unless you're doing one that's like near future. It's still very similar to today, but
no, I'm with you.
But hey, so of course the visuals are really good, music's really good. Cast are generally pretty strong going from this first episode. And yeah, so I think it's doing some interesting things.
Yeah,
So spoiler warning then, full spoilers for episode 1 of Altered Carbon. So we learn about his past, which is interesting to me. Obviously, we just get some glimpses to it, and we get some glimpses of characters because he's kind of seeing people in his head, where he's having like these flashbacks. He's having these things. Even the opening of the episode, we have like sort of flashbacks within the flashback because he's seeing who we later on find out is Falconer, from like his past, and we sort of learn from the rich guy that she trained the envoys, like she trained them. She and he seems like even closer to her than anyone else was. Maybe they were actually a couple. You get that kind of vibe, but we get like flashes of her whilst he's with someone else in the flashback where he died. He's with someone potentially random, although when it's questioned later on, when the guard, when the SWAT team guy, he knows who Kovac is because they have a history. They refer to each other because they know each other, and B, it does sound like Kovac is lying when he says she's no one. It sounds like, because even though we don't recognize her, like, is there someone else in her body from before, or?
Yeah, and just also the bit that we were referring to in the non-spoiler session where the prison officer kind of says that, oh, you killed her. But obviously we see that she got killed by the SWAT.
Yeah, the SWAT, she's already dead. She's already been shot and she's like, out. But he goes over and just like, bends her head over and just shoots the back of her neck. Because, well, you upset me, now I've killed her. He's ruthless. So we do get this sense that as much as everyone's telling us in present day that he's a terrorist, it's like, okay, how much of that is just because that's what the news was, 150 years ago, whatever it was, and like, because in this flashback, like, the vicious one does seem to be the SWAT guy and his team.
He straight up murders her. She's out. The body is dead. They've won.
Yeah,
and then he just kills
vicious.
her for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
it's just vindictive and vicious. But no, so I like that. But I like that scene because of that, because it was like bouncing between that, and we just got from the flashback that was bullshit. It was like, and again, I don't think he's lying. I think that's just it's on the record. That's what it says.
Yeah.
And but no, he's history because we when he goes up to the rich place, right, the mansion, in the sky, like, she's got this tree from Elder Society. That was what she called it. And it's this fancy tree. It looks kind of like a sort of Avatar or something like that. It's got glowing. It's got things that kind of move. And they mentioned that this was supposed to cost a fortune to ship here, because they also mentioned as well that we get like there's a little hologram that tells them after they've woken up. When all the other new sleeves are all kind of sitting around, we get this little hologram sort of explaining to us how stacks are working these days, and it mentions that we can beam you, like, your consciousness from a stack across to another planet. So it sounds like people don't necessarily travel to planet anymore, or at least not unless they really have to. Because it sounds like you don't have, you can just beam your consciousness.
I assume unless you really want to keep that specific sleeve.
Yeah, but it sounds like if you're rich, you could theoretically just beam between people, maybe. I don't know. But maybe we'll get more on that as time goes on, even though we're very Earth set. But no, so they had to physically ship this tree here. But he mentions that he saw one, and we see like a quick flash of looking at this even bigger one, this big tree. And we get a sense that he's from another planet, and he may have even been on that other planet in the flashback, because we don't get a whole lot. I mean, we do see a city, because he turns off the hologram window, and we see the future city outside, and it's all raining, which does look like Earth based on what we see of Earth in this. But
yeah, I mean, the fact that when he wakes up he asks, what planet am I on, implies that at least, cities, buildings, they're all still the same.
Yeah. Not that he's seen the outside of this planet yet, but he wakes up in, he's
exactly.
He's just in the room. So, but so he's from another planet, and we see that he had a sister, which is Lackman's character, and she kind of appears to him at one point just to talk to him, because basically he turns what's his face, Bancroft, that's it.
Yes.
He turns Bancroft down. He tells him to go, piss off. And he's like, I'm just going to, he's going to throw me back on ice tomorrow. I'm just going to get drunk, have sex, do whatever tonight, and just go back. And his sister, in his head, kind of talks to him, and he's like, are you sure you want to do that? You should do something more useful with your life, kind of thing. And then later we get Falconer, which is kind of the end of the episode, where she's like, hey, you can still finish what our mission is. You can still do this. Because basically we find out what the mission is. We don't get a lot of details, but we do know whatever they were fighting against, it was against basically the ultra rich. It was against like these people coming into power. And
Yeah, we don't get too much. We know Bancroft refers to him, the envoys were the ultimate fighting force. That's what they were trained to be.
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but we kind of lost. So
Yeah, and he meant, and in that scene, Kovac says, "Yeah, we were made to stop people like you," or
yeah,
maybe he said that in another scene, but he said that, and then at the
and
end,
he's the last of them as well. They were all dead now.
yeah, which is why he was the one picked because he's the only one left.
Yeah.
Bancroft's already picked him because he is the best of the best, and there's no one else like him.
Yeah.
And then later on, of course, we hear from Falconer in his head, "You can still finish this. You can still stop this." Because I think when he first said to stop this world from happening, I was like, does he mean the stack stuff? But it's like, no, not really. Because in the other scene, because when we're finding out about this weird religious group that are protesting against stacks, and they don't think, they think it's unholy, and anyone should go to hell if they're doing this. And we're having this described to us. He's actually kind of okay with it because the example that Ortega gives him is we're not allowed to bring someone back into a sleeve if they were murdered to question them about who their murderer was, if they're from this group or whatever. And he's like, why not just do that? You can get an eyewitness account. The person probably saw who killed them unless it was from behind, so why not?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, screw their own beliefs.
So
because that's what he goes. Yeah, no, I think he says, yeah, the diocese has clearly never been murdered.
Yeah, he cracks that little joke. So they don't understand. Maybe they'll feel differently once their family member's been off or whatever. But no, so again, that's a little bit of world building, and that's arguably something we could have saved for another episode. Maybe we didn't necessarily need that in this one. That could have been saved for episode 2 or 3.
The thing is, the moment of the protesting worked in context
because that's when he's leaving.
Because this is the place where they're relieving all these people, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
but the actual conversation, could have been somewhere else.
I really liked the little tidbits as they're coming out, and it's like an airport terminal where like family members are waiting for them, but they're all in different bodies, so they're kind of like they've obviously seen photos of them, so they know who's who. But it's like there's still this disbelief as they're coming up to them and stuff, and we get that little moment where the older woman, it turns out that she's actually a 7-year-old, and because this is not a rich family, they've just given her the sort of next body on the line. They don't care.
Yeah, that's something we'll obviously get into as a big major theme.
Yeah.
I mean, it's touched on in here that, okay, no, the good bodies, those are bought out, reserved for people who need them and want them. Everyone else, they just get whatever we got lying around. Again,
it's just this the rich versus the poor. It's because Bancroft does actually get his thing shot out, his stack, but he is so filthy rich that he can afford a satellite with a backup on it that backups every 48 hours. And whoever killed him or attempted to kill him actually tried to hack into his satellite but failed, and that's the reason why he's back. But they did it right before it reset. So his last... This was the part that interested me and why I'm kind of into it, is that the idea that his last 48 hours are actually a mystery to even him. And... Because everyone keeps saying, oh, it was probably the wife, because only you and the wife had the access to the gun in the safe. And it's like, well, it wasn't her. Like, and I wouldn't kill myself. I know I'm not that person. And if I tried, I'd bloody do it. Like, I'd succeed. I wouldn't have failed.
Yeah.
And I like that aspect of the mystery that even though... He's the one killed and he's back, he doesn't know what that last 48 hours were. That's the part that really kind of interests me.
No, it's funny because that's kind of what I was expecting everyone to be from the trailer, like, okay, once a week sort of thing. And so the mystery will be, okay, I don't know my last week, here it's 48 hours. But it's interesting that it's just him. That's not the regular thing, and we know how rich he must be because Kovac says he's heard of this thing but he's never known anyone to ever have it.
Yeah, this is a 1%er.
Yeah, this is crazy rich.
But it interests me. I think it adds an extra layer to the mystery. Because, they could have, obviously it's based on a book, so I assume this is just taken from the novel, but it could have just been like, oh, he was shot from behind, so he didn't know. Right? And that could have been how he'd done this, and he wouldn't know who killed him. But... I like the idea that his entire last 2 days are a mystery, because he could be in the last 2 days he could have got involved in something he doesn't know about that could have led to his death.
I'm expecting there to be something more in those 2 days. There has to be, otherwise it wouldn't be the full 2 days.
Exactly.
Dramatic effect and all that.
Yeah. So no, I like that part of it. So in terms of plot, we also get some stuff where Kovac is basically it's proven to him, as far as his instincts are concerned, that this was an actual murder attempt. because later on in the episode, but after we'll talk about his conversations with Ortega, but he goes back to this hologram digital like hotel where you get
AI hotel. I
yeah,
think he says
where you get sex and whatnot. Because we see outside, he keeps getting advertised from like prostitutes, and in this place, and Ortega puts a thing in his back of his neck that turns it all off, and she calls it something or other, but it's basically ad block.
Yeah.
for his eye thing, which I thought was pretty funny. But you know, this is where Tim Peckett's character came in. He had an accent, but this was him here, and he turns out to be this hitman, Dimitri. What was his nickname? I noted it down because I thought it would be useful. Dimi the twin, because he's Dimitri, but Dimi the twin is what they call him. And there's this big shootout where, because he signs in as a guest, the hotel has to protect Kovac. So miniguns come out, and we get this kind of action sequence, which is pretty good. I thought this and the opening, flashback scene were both really well shot in terms of action.
Yeah, I was really glad as well that this was actually the main action sequence in the trailer.
Yeah, yeah.
So it means, okay, that was from episode 1. So we've got plenty still to go.
Yeah, I feel like I don't remember the trailer a whole lot, and even the money shots where the car comes up above the clouds, that was in this episode.
Yeah,
that slow shot where he walks out to the edge and you see the city, that was this episode. So
it feels like maybe not all of it, but maybe 70% of that trailer was from this episode.
Yeah,
which
that's good.
Bodes well.
Yeah. So we have this whole thing, and he dies as well, and Ortega and our partner comes in, and we get another bit of this lore, which I'm sure is going to be important going forward, is the idea of this hitman, and his whole thing is that he does this thing that's completely illegal, which is he has two of himself. He duplicated himself into another body because he wants to preserve the main one. He's I think he's a fairly big enough actor. Well, maybe not big is the right word, but I feel like he's an important enough actor that I don't think this is the last. Because theoretically, we could never see him as an actor again in this show because he'd be a different body.
That's the thing, because they call him the twin, and I don't know if that means literally, okay, he's got two of the same body designed, or if it's just no, there's two of him.
But because I know, because is an actor I recognise, I expect to see him as the main one as well when we eventually get to him.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Because if they can engineer these sleeves, maybe they can actually just make ones that look like them.
I am a little unclear on that yet, because obviously with the government ones, it's kind of like, okay, no, these are just leftover bodies that we've got lying around. But when Bancroft's offering him, okay, here's your reward, you can have, a body to your specifications.
Yeah, it sounds like
it's designed.
If you got enough money, you can just engineer one. And
yeah.
Maybe if we get like an image of Bancroft from like a previous body, well, no, he looks the same. So
yeah, that's a good point.
But again, it's a bit of lore. What I like about that is it's using the same tech but in a different way. It's saying, okay, what else can we do with this tech in this story? Yeah. And it's like a different application of it. Because I think it's something we'd honestly ask at some point, is like, can you duplicate this? Can you have multiples of yourself running around?
Yeah. It's the first thing that came to my mind for sure.
And they mentioned that it's illegal and that the punishment is death. Like, it's flat out, it's just outlawed. No.
I think they call it true death, don't they?
Yeah, true death, yeah. There's no wiggle room. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And of course, Ortega is very skeptical of Kovac. She's definitely curious as to what he's into. And he keeps being offended that he's been called a terrorist, which I actually kind of like that part of it. It's a weird running joke, but every time he said, "Hey, can you not call me that?" I'm like standing right here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm kind of into it. I like that his life before is important. I like that we're going to keep seeing flashes of what this is. We see a little glimpse at the end of this big battle that they mentioned a couple of times, where he was the lone survivor, and we see like the forest around him burning. Like, I'm really fascinated to see more of this element of it.
Definitely. I think it's a lot of history, because it's to a lot of people this is ancient history. 250 years.
Yeah.
Now, sure, some people will live that long now because they can, but it's still a long time ago.
Yeah, it's the same with Bancroft, where he says something about that time period, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I lived through it." He's like, "Oh, of course." Like, It was,
but the difference is, for Kovac, this is recent history to him.
Oh yeah, to him. Again, because time, even if he's aware of things, that time's been a murky thing while he's been asleep. So it's like it just happened. Like, this is
absolutely, yeah.
a recent
That's
memory
definitely
for
the
him.
way he feels about it.
Yeah. Whereas for Bancroft, it's like he probably barely remembers half of it because it's been so long.
Yeah, I will say that does lead to one of my smaller problems with the episode. Is Kovac keeps saying, "I don't belong in this world. It's changed too much," and it doesn't really look like it has. Maybe they'll show us more that has changed.
Yeah, maybe we'll get more of that. I think at least at this point, I'm assuming that when they were fighting, it was before this rich regime that sort of benefited all these rich guys. It was probably before that came into power. They were probably fighting against that.
Maybe the distribution of sleeves was fairer.
Yeah, it might have been.
I mean, that's a question as well, though. Kovac, the body that we see him in the flashbacks, was that his first body?
For now, I think it's probably safe to assume it is, because we see him as a kid in a flashback as well.
We do.
And which is obviously worth mentioning is he's obviously his name Takeshi Kovacs. He's an Asian guy. Although arguably, I don't know if that necessarily applies if he was born in this other. I don't know if. Well, I assume that it's an Asian family who moved to another planet, and then that's Rather than he's indigenous to.
That's what I'm assuming as well.
Yeah, I assume that. I hadn't thought about it yet, but yeah. We're using that in a very interesting way, and I think what is worth probably bringing up actually is mentioning the race here of who he really is. We probably need to bring up a little bit of Ghost in the Shell, the remake from last year, because there was controversy on this particular subject because they whitewashed the role with Scarlett Johansson and then tried to murky in a reason for it, and it just kind of made it worse in the story. It was an Asian person, but then now she's in a white person's body. The key difference here, of course, just from the get-go, that I think is very important, is that this is based on a book, and in the book, this was always the story. This was always part of it. And I think the fact that in Ghost in the Shell, you never... I mean, there might be a brief glimpse towards the end of the movie, but you never see that, whereas in this, they're definitely treating that past life as very important.
They're very open about it, is the difference here, whereas Ghost in the Shell felt like it was kind of hiding it.
Yeah. And it seems like thematically, the whole idea that he feels out of place is kind of accented by the fact that he feels uncomfortable in his own body. Now, admittedly, by the time we finish this, if you still have a problem with it and you still feel like it's not treating it the right way or it shouldn't be done, that's fair. I can't really argue with that. But at its core, it's not altering the story to do it, if that makes sense.
No, that's how it was designed. I think things that are interesting to me is, you say, we saw him as a child in that other flashback, and so you assume that as his first body. And that was my first thought as well. But as I've been thinking about it, I'm going, okay, but what if when he was younger, I say younger, when he was 250 years ago, when he was active then, maybe he was choosing his own sleeves. So he was choosing his own ethnicity. Whereas now it's like, no, you get what I give you. And that's part of the offer with Bancroft. He says, you do this, you can choose your own body. You can do what you want.
I'll counter that. Because my current impression right now, based on the free crappy body for the 7-year-old, right, is that I don't think anyone who can't afford it actually gets to go into a new body.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I
get what you're saying.
Because my reason for that is why is no one else as old as Bancroft? Why is there not tons of people who are ancient running around? If they've all had stacks in them for the last 250 years, since as old as Bancroft's been at the very least,
true.
Why is there not a bunch of other people his age running around? But they mention that they make a point of saying how goddamn old he is, as if it's a unique thing.
Okay, this is what I was saying though. In the 250 years ago, you're saying, maybe that was before this regime, before the 1%ers. That's what he was fighting against. So I'm saying maybe at that point, people did have the freedom to choose their own sleeves a bit more. Like that was a more common thing. It was fairer.
Maybe it was fairer, but it wasn't for people who died of natural causes. It was just for people who were killed in accidents or murdered before their time.
True, that little girl again, I think it was a car crash.
Yeah, hit and run, they said. So I'm thinking, no, it was fairer in the sense that maybe, okay, if you go before your time because it's not your fault, or you get an illness at an early age, it's like no, we will guarantee you a life to maybe
it feels like insurance.
Yeah, maybe they'd have an age, like if you make it past 80, you're not getting one. You've had a good life, but if you die young, we'll throw you in a new boat. I don't know. We'll probably get more of this as we go on.
I think we will. Yeah.
We're just kind of spitballing ideas here. But certainly no one else is old as Bancroft. So it's definitely not a case of, I don't think everyone can just keep, being reborn, essentially, infinitely.
No, that's fair.
It seems to be something that only the rich can do. But it does imply, though, that if he is one of the oldest people, which I think someone had a line to that effect, it means that the technology was relatively new for
when he got it.
when he started using it. So that gives us a bit of a time frame there, I guess.
It's true. And we know the technology is absolutely widespread now because we get that that hologram speech says at the age of 1, that's it, you get it implanted.
Yeah. Honestly, the only exposition that bothered me a little bit was that, because it felt like some of it was like, okay, why did they need to know what a stack is? They clearly all had them when they died.
It was like, okay, this is for us.
Yeah, but hey, but it still is exposition we needed, and
it is. It's important. I think that's the problem. That's possibly the most important piece of exposition in the episode. This is what a stack is.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And this is how you kill someone with a stack. That is, the crux of the show, essentially. But none of these people here need to be told this. So maybe, I felt they could have found a better way of giving us that information.
Honestly, text at the start might have been that may have been the way to do that.
It might have been, yeah.
Just a bit of text saying, "Hey, in the future we're going to have stacks. The only way to kill someone for a true death." Even give us that bit there. Like, the only way to achieve a true death is to damage the stacks, which can be done with either just destroying that, bluntly, or with an energy weapon to the head. Like, give us a text scroll to start with, just that in it, because that's kind of what those opening crawls are used for. It's kind of for exposition that you can't really naturally just fit into the dialogue. Like, why would anyone bring this up?
Need to be told, because you have to know this, but it doesn't work in conversation.
But all the stuff about the time periods, all the stuff about the hitman and stuff, these are all things that make sense for someone to be telling Kovac.
Yeah, because this is new to him.
Yeah, so... but hey, it's a minor quibble, I think.
I think that's why my other slight problem with the exposition was the new person at the lab technicians who were doing the new sleeves for Kovac.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, it's kind of like, it sounded like it was like a first day, and it felt like, okay, here's someone new, so we have an excuse to explain it.
Admittedly, it's an easy way out, but at the same time, it works. So I'm not going to.
It is. It just kind of felt a little bit easy and cheap, and I was like, okay, he didn't put too much thought into that.
Yeah.
I'll let it slide. It's not a big deal, but it stuck out to me.
Yeah, but of course, the big interesting kind of hook at the end of the episode is when he kind of decides that he's going to take the job, which is what we end with, and it's because Falconer's in his head, kind of talking to him and be like, "You can still achieve your goals. You can still do." I'm like, "Oh, how? how exactly?" So, because does season 1 end with him solving this case and he gets his freedom to just be around? Because that's what Bancroft's offering him, like a pardon with money, and he can just go do what he wants, like when he's done with the job. Does it then become him like is there others around that still believe in what he believes? Is there something there that he can fight for?
Do you know, part of that deal is, he goes, okay, you could get a new body, your specifications, whatever you want, or you can keep that one. I know they're just going to have him go, no, I've attached this body now, I'll keep it.
Oh, because we're keeping
lead actor.
Yeah, we're keeping the actor, yeah.
I wish they had the balls to go, no, we get rid of this, and we're doing someone new as the lead.
That'd be cool. Actually, I mean, that is the one thing you could say about the whole, it's the Asian guy in the white man's body now, is that, yeah, they could have had the balls to say, no, let's not make it a white guy. Let's have a change of race, but let's do...
Well, see, this is the thing. In this context, I like that it's the rich white man giving him the white man's body.
Going, okay, there you go.
So I like that there, but I would like for at the end to him go, no, this isn't my body. I want something that I choose.
But to be fair, it's an easy way out, and you've just justified it. You've justified it with a plot reason, but I would have appreciated if they had the balls. And I like Joel Kinnaman, I don't want to necessarily get rid of him, but it would have been more interesting to say, okay, to get around this idea, because I mean there is a slight feeling of, no, we wanted a white lead, right? There is a slight feeling of that.
There is, and,
right?
And I did somewhat just justify it,
and not necessarily in the show itself, although I think it is there, maybe in the book first, right? But so if they had the balls to say, no, okay, he was Asian before, but now he's black, right? That would be maybe okay, we're circumventing just the usual whitewash bullshit, and we're just doing, not that it's necessarily whitewashing per se, but I'm just saying,
this is the thing. Honestly, with them, we keep mentioning Ghost in the Shell because that was really bad for it.
Oh yeah, it was terrible for it.
That it tried to hide it. The trailers kept it a secret, and then it was only when they dropped the name about 2/3 into the movie that it kind of became clear that's what was happening. They actually told us outright, but they never, like you say, they never showed us in here. Up front, first episode, they're very open about, no, this is what he was then, this is what he is now. I'm expecting it to go somewhere with this.
It's a big part of his character, which is why I don't really have that much of a problem with it. I'm just saying that on a conceptual level, the choice to make it a white person he goes into is a little bit cynical and a little bit, oh, we want a white lead.
No, it is. But that's why I'm saying I'm hoping they actually do something with that and have
No,
him
no,
address it.
obviously I'm hoping that too.
Yeah.
Because it is a big part of his character, it's not that much of an issue. But I do think, maybe have the balls to have not picked a white.
Yeah.
Have the race switch because that's integral to your story and the themes and being out of place and whatnot. And maybe it's like tying into the idea that there's a rich white guy who picked him is going to be a big factor, and that's fair enough. But
I think just on that level, we don't even know in this world if racism is. We know, okay, no, the rich look down on the poor, but we don't get much context for if racism is still really a thing.
it probably is.
It probably is, but we haven't seen any of it yet. So I'm intrigued to see how that is ended up treated in this show, and if okay, did he give him a white body so he'd get into places easier for his investigation?
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Uh, yeah, possibly. I don't know, but no. But even if it didn't exist in the show, it doesn't erase the just again the baseline complaint that no, they wanted a white lead, so they made sure it was a
No,
white body he was going into.
of course.
So, but no. But hey, I quite liked the first episode.
Me
So
too.
I'm happy that I've got a big budget, probably the biggest budget looking sci-fi show. I mean, it may not actually literally be the biggest budget, but it looks the biggest budget sci-fi show I've ever had. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything that even comes close, and
yeah, because don't get me wrong, the Expanse looks fantastic. The Star Trek Discovery typically looks fantastic, but they don't quite look this good.
no, this looks like a next level. And
That was like a
to be
movie.
fair,
I mean, that's the quick way
yeah,
to
a
put
lot
it.
of Netflix shows look like they have an extra bit of budget compared to
They do,
even other cable
but most
shows.
of them aren't cyberpunk shows set entirely in a futuristic city.
No, they're not.
So
No, they're not.
So they're not. I mean, they have a slicker look to them, but they're not constantly shoving it in your face. Where hey, look at how pretty we are, and this just looks really pretty.
It does look gorgeous.
I'll be honest. It's in the Netflix ratio, which is fine. It's great. I do kind of wish it went that one step further and went the full wide like Godless.
I get it. I get it.
It'd have been nice, but hey, you can't have everything you
Netflix
want in
ratio
life.
is good enough.
Oh yeah. No, I mean,
It's kind of on brand at this point, though.
that's it. Godless is a Netflix show, so
It is, but that was a limited show, so they
a
were
lot
like,
of-
yeah, we'll do something different with
a
that.
lot of season 4 of Black Mirror was in that ratio as well. Actually,
Yeah, Black Mirror has always jumped about, though, hasn't it?
it did, but it was more 50-50 last year. I feel like season 4 was it was like 5 out of 6 or something like that. Where
Oh, fair enough.
Well,
I
the
can't
wide-
remember now.
well, the
It
wide
was,
ratio.
2 months ago, a month ago.
your memory's that bad.
Aye.
Uh,
I'd be screwed trying to remember 250 years ago.
oh god. And we have you a pop quiz in Dark next week, just out of
Oh,
nowhere,
don't do that.
and just see how
That'd
much
be a
you've
dick
remembered.
move.
Pop
The only
quiz.
reason I know you won't is because you'd have to look it up first.
It's funny though because we still get I mean, our Dark reviews do quite well. People keep watching them, and every so often someone will comment with a thought on something, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, I can't
And
argue
you're
with you.
like, you go, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch that before season
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, same as we still get comments on our all Twin Peaks reviews, and there'll be like a comment, and sometimes it'll not be something about the show specifically, but they'll comment on a joke we made or something, and it'll clearly be like a reference to a joke, and I'm like, I have no idea what we said in that now. Like
Yeah.
it's been so long.
Essentially, if you're watching this in 6 months' time, we appreciate you putting in a timestamp if you're going to make a reference,
sure,
so we can
yeah.
see what you're referencing.
Yeah, timestamp.
Pro tip:
Yeah, if it's much later, yeah, timestamp your comment, and then we can see what you're referencing.
you're good for a couple of weeks, but after that,
Yeah.
please.
But no, Altered Carbon episode 1, pretty good. I'm looking forward to watching the rest. We are hopefully going one per day. That is the plan. We'll see. Tomorrow might actually be sketchy, but you'll definitely have episode 2 by Sunday, if not episode 3 on Sunday. So, so look forward to more. Let us know what you think of the first episode in the comments. Try not to talk about spoilers for later episodes for other people commenting and us. So do that. And that's like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, and you can do that over the link in the description. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?